and we're live. You're watching Interchain FM, a technical podcast about all things blockchain interoperability, NFTs, and DeFi. If you're seeking alpha in the Interchain, look no further. I'm your host, Chango Unchained. We have an announcement to make today. We are running a validator called the Interchain FM stake on Osmosis. So if you like to support our content, you can delegate, and that would go a long way. So on to the show. We're here with Runaway Investor. He's an Anon, but he co-founded Metarats. If you're not familiar with Metarats, they are right here on our screen. These are sewer rats, NFTs on Secret, and they are, let's say, Interchain rats. And you could look no further than my profile pic, which has a NASA rat. So welcome, Runaway Investor. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hey, so first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the station. So, the whole thing behind, like what happened with Metarats, on how much exposure we really saw it get. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking everybody who supported the project and everybody who continues to support the project. The secondary marketplace and sales has just been ridiculous. Like, I believe we've been seeing some insane amount of sales. Like the volume for Metarats, just in less than 2 weeks, we've crossed over 600,000 US dollars in volume. So for Stash, that's actually really good, placing us at the second most volume for any NFT listed on Stash. But if I was going to talk about myself, on what do you want me to really talk about here, on how I got into Cosmos, on how the whole idea came?
Yeah, just give us your background, how you got into NFTs and what got you into Cosmos.
Yeah, so the way I got into Cosmos actually happened just before. I think it was in February. I remember in February there was something going on with a snapshot. It was the Gravity Bridge at that time, if I'm familiar. Could be mistaken there, but I remember there was a snapshot that was going on, and I didn't really have too much information on Cosmos. But I kind of, when I started into cryptocurrency, I started in 2017. But when I first started, I feel like I bought the absolute top of that market cycle that was occurring, and I'll never forget this day. I remember there was just so much talk about cryptocurrency, and it was going all over like the news, and everybody was talking about it. Like I had like relatives and stuff telling me like, "What's XRP?" And everybody's talking about this XRP thing that's going to like $100 trillion market cap. So I was like, at that time I wasn't really too familiar with like investing, and I remember it was December, almost Christmas Day, December 25th, 2017. I remember I was getting on a bus in Toronto, and what I did is I downloaded Coinbase, and I think I just bought the absolute top of XRP. Like it was $2 and something. And I was just like, this is gonna go to like whatever $200 billion market cap. But I didn't have too much knowledge on investing back then. It was my first introduction on like the whole world of investing. So that didn't go too well. I ended up just holding it on my ledger. And then, I continued to invest in stocks. I run a business here in Toronto. So all the additional cash flow I have, I like to put it into stocks, housing, just some investments I like to put it in. So I spent the next couple of years, I wasn't too involved in cryptocurrency. Instead, I bought a bunch of stocks, but it wasn't until March 2020 that I got way more involved into the world of investing again. I remember when we saw the S&P crash, it really caught my eyes on what happened. So I remember I took a large bet on the S&P on I think it was March 26th of 2020. And I still owned a bit of cryptocurrency, but I wasn't really into the loop. I'll never forget this. I remember I was over at my friend's house, and I think it was June of 2020, and I heard the word Ethereum again. I was like, okay, like I definitely remember hearing all this talk about Ethereum. But the last time when I purchased cryptocurrency, I feel like everybody was just talking about it. And this was just like one of my close buddies, and I remember he mentioned, he's like, the price of Ethereum's going up. And I remember at that time I was like, okay, like he's the first person who's told me this, and only like maybe another person that told me this. I better look into cryptocurrencies again before the whole crowd, everybody jumps into it again. I ended up looking back into like I found like my nano ledger again. I remember it was like in my closet. I opened it up. I remember like my $10,000 or maybe more of XRP. I think it was worth like $500 or something. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm keeping this. I'm just gonna sell it or something. And I remember like I sold a bit of it or something, and I ended up buying Ethereum. And this was closer on like to November of 2020, and Binance just opened their whole staking for Ethereum. And I was reading more about how Ethereum works, the whole vision for Ethereum. So I ended up staking Ethereum, and I just put it on Binance. Like I had no idea at that time. I was just learning about like proof of stake how everything works. I was just relearning everything again. It's been like so many years. What ended up happening was I stumbled upon Ethan Bunkman, and I saw that Ethan actually went to the same university I went to, and he studied the same thing I went to. So I was like, Ethan and I, like, who's this guy? And like I found out that Vitalik was also from Canada, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of things coming out of Canada. And I remember what I did. I just studied more on Ethan, and I found this whole Cosmos thing. At that time, I was just like, this thing's like insane. Like the idea of like all these chains connecting on it and building on it. And I was just like, I took it, I just took like my opportunity, and I was just like, I'll buy a bunch of Atom and I'll stake it. So I remember I staked it back in like February for the whole airdrop thing that was coming. And I remember that was for Osmosis. I ended up staking it, and I was just so bullish on Atom. I just kept talking about Atom, researching so much more about Cosmos, and essentially Osmosis launched. And I was never too big into like Ethereum DeFi, but I remember when Osmosis launched, the first thing that happened, I wasn't like I didn't really know too much about Sunny and essentially what they were building. But when Osmosis launched, I remember I got this insane airdrop, and I was just like, "This is ridiculous. There's no way that I just received this amount of money just for staking a coin." The first thing I did was I remember I instantly sold my Osmosis, and I had no idea what Osmosis was, but I remember the price went from $5 to $1, and it gave me 24 hours just to look at Osmosis and go through the website. I remember I was like, "This is the most beautiful website I've ever seen. Like, this is just ridiculous." I'll never forget it. I remember when Osmosis went to like $1.81. I thought to myself, I was like, "Look, like I can do like the most irresponsible gamble of my life, and if it doesn't work out, maybe I could just like work my way to that money again." So I remember at $1.81, I remember I just bet the bank on Osmosis, and I was like, okay, I'll just go farm. I'll just go into like a liquidity pool, and I'll farm like Atom and Osmos. And then I just became like super bullish on like Osmosis, and I was just looking more into like the whole Cosmos ecosystem. I was following up on everything that was coming out, and essentially that was my introduction into Cosmos. I just I started with Ethereum. I slowly like, okay, it doesn't make sense. All these gas fees don't make sense. I found the whole Cosmos ecosystem, and I kind of just went through that path.
And what motivated you to create Rats?
Okay, so the whole idea behind Metarats, I like this question because truthfully, I don't know what motivated me too much to create Rats, but I remember my buddy and I we were talking about taking a trip to New York in summer. And I remember my buddy, he goes, "There's so many rats in New York," or something like that. And I was like, "Yeah, like that's interesting." So I was looking at that time, we were looking at like building an NFT project, or just like we were researching more into it. And we're like, how many people have ever, built an NFT around rats? And we didn't find many. And we're like, okay, what if we could do this and we can spin it off in like a cute way? So truthfully, it was just like what my buddy just mentioned. Like it was from like an idea of a trip going to like New York City. My buddy just mentioned that New York had so many rats, and then we just kind of looked more into it.
Okay. And what's the lore behind Metarats and being part of the cigar club? Why cigars?
Um, so um, I remember for the minting day, we had, the other programmer and the other co-founder, they just smoked so many cigarettes during the mint. I remember it was a joke. We're like, why don't we just call it like the cigar club? And it was just from them smoking so many cigarettes.
Okay. I thought it had some association with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Or I guess maybe the Cigar Club is inspired by that.
So in terms of like the whole thing, it didn't really get inspired from anything. It was just like an idea that we had. We didn't really look into other projects and like copying whatever they did.
You did not copy
No,
whatever they did?
no. So we didn't actually. I wasn't even too familiar on the Board Ape Yacht Club on them having a cigar club or. So
Oh,
it was
really?
no. I truthfully did not know. So I it was just something we thought about. That's it.
I see. I wonder if that's just a natural human inclination to create sort of exclusive insider clubs amongst each other and have a sort of meme that they could coalesce around, like rats.
I mean, the other co-founder, he's really big into NFTs. So myself, I've purchased a few NFTs, but he's really big into it. Like he follows so many NFTs and he owns so many NFTs. So maybe he was inspired by that. But truthfully, he just came to me with the idea of it. So maybe there's something I don't know as well.
Yeah. So are we who currently own Metarats NFTs going to have our own hexagons on Twitter?
Honestly, I feel like that's something that we probably don't have any control over. That's more of an integration through Twitter. I'm not too familiar, so I believe this is true. Is it the person who worked on building the whole integration for the NFT, like the whole hexagon thing? I swear that she used to work for Interchain.
Oh, I see. You're talking about Tess Rainierson, right?
Yeah,
She's working on something separate. She's working on their I think it was Blue Sky project, which is Twitter's um decentralized social network that's trying to disrupt itself.
yeah, but I mean, with the whole, obviously I'd love for Twitter to introduce like the integration of like using a hexagon, but I know Coney Daddy and also DVP and Dan, I know that they just added a hexagon on their Metarat. So I guess I guess that's probably the closest we're gonna get until Twitter adds that feature for us to
Yeah.
into
Yeah, that's actually kind of how Twitter does it anyway, because I don't believe that they actually authenticate. Because that is what happened. People were able to go on OpenSea and then they were able to like mint an NFT after copy pasting some CryptoPunk that they don't actually own, and then Twitter, because they hit OpenSea's API, it actually does render it on their profile pic, and so it's not actually authenticated. And that was one of the issues that that I actually ran into, because somebody copy pasted my Metarat and then they minted it on OpenSea and tried to sell it. I hope
I
no
know. Yeah.
sucker actually went to buy it.
Yeah, I know. And I remember when that first happened, I posted a tweet, I shared it on the Telegram, but I guess this is the whole idea behind, somebody's going to right click save your NFT and they're just going to post it on OpenSea. Yeah, I know. I actually did look at that. I believe that they did get away with a couple of sales unless they somehow just artificially inflated it. So, OpenSea, I contacted OpenSea, but truthfully, OpenSea never gets back to anybody regarding those issues. But honestly, there's just nothing we can do. If anybody's watching this video, if you're trying to buy a legitimate Metarat, you'd have to go on Stash.io. That's literally the only way you can purchase it, or you can purchase it over the counter. And if you do that, we're not responsible for that transaction. You'd have to make sure that everything goes smoothly there.
Yeah, and as far as Metarats trademark goes, how does how is it structured? Because there's um there's like there's like bored apes or something, and their entire thing is once you own a bored ape, I believe you kind of own the IP. Um,
Yeah.
are there laws around that written in the Metarat smart contract?
So we haven't really specified anything behind that. Like people are free to edit their Metarat in any way they want. Um, it's only until that somebody like impersonates the brand where they try to, take the whole Metarat image and then sell it as an authentic Metarat to somebody else. I feel like anybody is really free to edit their Metarat on however they want. It's only until they start, people don't really understand what they're buying, it can become a little tricky. We're in the process of actually trademarking Metarats. It's a long process. We have lawyers behind that. It's I truthfully don't know too much information behind the whole legal side of those operations, but people are free to edit their Metarats in any way they wish.
Okay, and so if I own my NASA Metarat, then I would have the right to, I don't know, create stickers out of it and sell it, for example, like stuff like that, right? Like I could create little like vinyl figures of my rat and sell it. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, so somebody's already made stickers before. I think it was Crypto Durant, a user on Twitter. He's published that he's made stickers before. People are free to do whatever they want. They can print a Metarad shirt if they want and they can sell it. We have no issue with that. On top of it, that's great for marketing if people are working on promoting the brand.
Yeah, totally. So one thing that's really exciting to me is Strange Clan. I've just been in open conversations with them, and I think that they're doing really exciting stuff. One of the things that's exciting about NFTs and Cosmos interoperating with metaverse projects is that in the future you'll be able to render your, let's say, Metarat PFP in the in Passage and have your avatar just walking around there. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that happening in the future? Any plans to integrate with metaverses and Cosmos?
Okay, so I like that question a lot because I assume that you spoke to Lex from Strange Phone.
Yeah, Lex and Errol.
Yeah, yeah. So we've actually been in talks with Lex on the whole idea that we can introduce Metarats possibly into the whole Strange Clan. So we're still in talks with that. There's definitely like I love the idea of introducing your Metarat in the whole passage world, and if it's possible, if we could possibly do that, then it's obviously something that we'd be open to do. So I've been talking to Lex about that, and we're gonna move forward and see what we could possibly do there.
Okay. So tell us about the cheese factory and the cheese vault.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pull up my notes here because I got some notes. So basically, when we talk about the Cheese Vault, it's basically a development fund wallet, and that development fund wallet could be used to fund operations like, for example, a treasure hunt. And when I say a treasure hunt, we've mentioned that before when we started that we were going to have this hunt, and people were going to go look for. We haven't really finalized on how we're going to structure it, but let me give an example of like some ideas we've been talking about. We can scatter a bunch of tweets through Twitter, and we could maybe perhaps hint that this tweet says something, and people go look for these tweets. And if people are able to find these keywords, they can go onto a website, for example, metarats.io/claim, and they can type in these keywords if they think that they have it right. And in the event that they say, for example, have all 12 keywords or all 10 keywords, if they enter all these keywords in, it can open a treasure chest and it would give them prizes. These prizes could consist of Cosmo coins. They can consist of one-of-one rare NFTs that they could, potentially keep. They can sell. some other things for the cheese factory. We could also do it. For example, like we can use. Okay, so this I haven't actually shared this yet with everybody, but the whole idea is we'd also like to fund new projects that basically launch on Stash. So new NFTs projects that come on Stash, we can use the money, some of the money that we made from Metarats, and we can work together with new projects on promoting their projects. If we promote their projects, we take equity into their projects, and the money we take from and the money we get from those projects from the sales, we use it to give back to Metarat holders in some way. For example, we can buy a bunch of Metarats and then we can burn them, or we can keep using that money for the treasure chest and we just keep distributing that money back to Metarat holders. That's something that I feel a lot of people will be very happy to hear about, because we're already in talks of acquiring a good percentage in a new project that's actually fairly big and it hasn't launched yet, and we feel like the project will do very well.
That's cool. So what you're telling me is that we may be able to use our Metarats as collateral and essentially yield farm on it by having it staked there in the future.
Okay. So the answer is so legally, I'll tell you no for legal reasons, but yes, if you understand what I'm saying here. There's no promises on money that's going to go back. But if people understand what we're saying is, we're going to be working to bring in utility for the holders, and in some way that would give back. It will give back to people, but there would be nothing that's actually fixed. Speak in terms of legal talk here.
Okay, fair enough. That's some good alpha right there. Timestamp this. So right now we are on Metarat number 177 and Metarat number 180, and I just can't help but notice the price tag on these things. So Metarat 177 is going for a fixed price at 1,500 secret, and that's about $10,000. Metarat 180 is at 15,000, which is about $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what is it about these rats that give it this value? Is it certain attributes, or like what is driving these prices?
So I feel like you should. So anybody is really able to list their own price. So there's nothing stopping somebody from listing a Metarat for $1 million, right? And truthfully, if somebody just like the way how something looks like, right, they can possibly purchase something for, say, a Metarat for $100,000. There's nothing stopping anyone from purchasing a Metarat for X amount of dollars. I feel like you should scroll up, then you should go on recently sold on Stash. So just scroll all the way to the top. This should give you a good idea on and then just scroll down a bit where name is on the right. Just a bit more on the top, and then you see where the name is. Just go on recently sold, and then this should give you an idea on how much Metarats are going for. So if we look here, we can see that one was sold 5 hours ago for 614, 9 hours ago for 460. Scroll down a bit, you're going to see that there's some bigger ones here. So we see a rank 564, Metarat number 2, 2,713 being sold for $1,600. We have a sale there for $7,000. So it's definitely interesting. People wanting to just purchase Metarats for thousands of dollars. I know this one guy, he's trying to collect all the space rats, and he's been purchasing space rats for thousands of dollars, right? Because to him, they just look so cool. So that's the whole idea behind the world of like NFTs, right? If somebody likes something, for example, why is the Bored Ape Yacht Club worth how much it's worth?
I have a theory, but you tell me yours first.
I mean, it's just the whole idea behind, you build this whole cult following, right? And this entire cult following grows. For example, I'm originally from Toronto. It got really cold this year, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to Miami for a bit. So I went to Miami, and I was going through this area called I believe it was called Wynwood. Yeah, and I remember I was just driving there because a buddy of mine told me there's a super cool artwork there. So I was just, taking a look at it. And just going through it, I saw so many Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, and I was just like,
Oh
people are put,
yeah.
yeah, and I was just like, people are putting up these Bored Ape Yacht Clubs here, and it kind of gave me the whole idea. Like, I got a bunch of phone numbers, and I was like, what if I put a huge Metarat here? So it's definitely something that I'm probably just gonna call around and see if it's possible because it's the whole idea behind building this cult following. So when we look at like Ethereum NFTs, right? So Ethereum NFTs are just way bigger than Cosmos NFTs, right? If we look at the NFTs on the Cosmos space, what are you familiar with other NFTs on the platform?
On Secret Network?
Well, yeah. So Cosmos in general, I know that there's a marketplace for Terra. There's a marketplace on Secret. But if we talk about like Secret Network, I would say okay. So obviously, in terms of like quantity, first we're just gonna rank them in terms of volume. So I feel like this could be a good indicator. Number one would be Anons. They have $1 million in volume since launching. Number two, and I think Anons has been
Anon's
around.
NFT, right?
Yes,
Anon's
that's
NFT,
the
you're
one.
saying.
Yeah, Anons NFT. And Anons NFT, they've been around since I believe November or December. So in the 2 or 3 months they've been around, they've accumulated $1 million in volume. When we look at Ethereum, for example, right? Ethereum accumulates. You could sell a collection. Okay, for example, let's talk about the Full Send NFT. Are you familiar with the whole Nelk Boys?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you familiar with the Nelk Boys? It's a YouTube channel where these guys they just do pranks and they have like millions of followers.
I'm not.
Okay, so essentially they have millions of followers and they launched the collection on a couple of weeks ago. They launched it on Ethereum, and I believe that I hope I'm not mistaken, but I believe they made anywhere from $10 to $15 million in sales. So if you just look at the whole NFT space on Ethereum, there's just so much more liquidity there. However, Cosmos doesn't really have that large NFT vision, or not the vision. It doesn't have that large NFT space right now. But Cosmos is going to have a Bored Ape Yacht Club, because like if you're bullish on Cosmos and you truly believe that Kipler Wallet is going to onboard so many users, which I do believe that Kipler Wallet will onboard so many users this year and in the coming years, there's going to have to be one or two NFTs that really stand out in the space. And those one or two NFTs, they're going to become massive, right? For Anons to have $1 million in volume and for Metarats to have roughly $620,000 in the 2 weeks that we launched, this is still extremely small. Like, just the space for growth, it all comes down to, the entire NFT space on Cosmos growing. And if we do happen to grow, we haven't went on our parabolic run, like for say Ethereum or Solana, but there's a good chance that in this space there's going to be a big winner if it does happen to be true.
Right. And so that does lead me to what your future vision of this space is going to unfold as, which is, do you imagine the parabolic rise of NFTs growing on Ethereum to kind of be replicated in the Cosmos ecosystem? And is that part of why you have launched Metarats in the interchain?
Oh, okay. So first of all, I participated in several NFTs on Ethereum, but I felt like a lot of the NFTs that I participated in Ethereum, I felt like I lost money in a really short period of time. For example, when we saw Stash launching, or not Stash, when we saw Anon's NFT launching, Anons, I believe, started at a mint price of $1,000. And if you look at Anons now, they're selling for 10 times. The floor price is $10,000. Stash overall, it's just been a really positive experience. Second of all, I think that a lot of people might just get fed up with the whole entire gas fees. Nobody wants to pay those gas fees anymore. Projects that are just coming out on Ethereum, they're just cash grabs. You're seeing like these projects that coming out with 10,000 quantity. They cost thousands of dollars too. It's ridiculous. In terms of launching on Cosmos, my vision on launching on Cosmos is just because I think it's going to grow, and there's a way bigger chance that we're going to see something big out of it. For me to have launched on Ethereum, it would be so much more competition. But to me, it also doesn't make any sense because I'm a strong supporter of Cosmos ecosystem. I truly believe that the space is only gonna keep growing more and more here. So it doesn't make sense for me to go, for example, launch a project on Ethereum, especially for my following on Twitter. I have roughly 30,000 followers now, and I talk about Cosmos all the time. I talk about Juno, I talk about Atom, Osmosis, I talk about all these coins. It's in my best interest to grow this ecosystem, not because I have stake in those projects, but at the same time, I truthfully believe that it's just a lot better. There's way more growth that we could see here than we possibly could see in other spaces, and just for the whole Cosmos ecosystem to have grown the way it's grown, and Interchain Foundation and all these projects just building. Like, how many in the past couple months, how many projects have we seen just airdrop Atom and Osmosis holders? Like, it's just getting ridiculous. The amount of airdrops, people are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars from airdrops alone.
Yeah, totally. So, do you imagine Metarats being positioned in such a way to kind of capture a large percentage of the NFT liquidity that is going to be onboarded into Cosmos, um, such that when a Pareto distribution happens, the top 1% of NFTs that are netting high amounts of liquidity are going to be captured by the likes of Metarats and Anon's NFT? Because you seem to have mentioned these two, even though there's a lot of other NFT projects as well, but it seems to be that you or Metarats and Anons are kind of well positioned for that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely space for other projects in this. Like, there's definitely space for other people to also come into the whole marketplace. For example, like I mentioned Anons and Metarats, but there's also like Redacted Club, who's also I believe they're third in volume. There's so many projects on Stash. Like, if you were to look on Stash, um, let me just see. If we were to look on Stash, we could see so many projects just launching. I actually don't know. There's definitely more. I just forgot them from the top of my head. But the thing is, what you mentioned was, obviously people that are coming from Ethereum NFTs onto Cosmos NFTs. You have to really keep this cult following going, right? So what we're doing here is we're working with everybody to keep raise awareness for everybody to participate in these activities that we're going to keep rolling out, these social marketing games. Um, so it's the whole idea behind building this cult following. You need to have an active community. By having an active community, you need to introduce certain things, right? So just having an NFT probably won't do it. You need more than that. You need utility. So what I mentioned with the whole idea behind investing in other projects, these other projects that we invest in, it gives people a purpose, like a purpose, because I don't want to call it like a dividend, but in a way that there's going to be this return value for people to purchase an NFT. So it creates this whole idea of utility. Obviously, there has to be really strong utility, and that's what we're trying to build up with the Metarats.
Mm-hmm. You're creating a sort of circular economy in that when people put money into a project and the project spits money out, it goes back right into the ecosystem that you were investing in the first place. And so you
Exactly.
create this virtuous cycle of growth and cult following that just does not run out of fuel.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I have is, what compelled you to launch this on Secret Network as opposed to Stargaze? Those would be the two that are kind of pioneering the NFT side of things in Cosmos.
Okay, so at this time, Stargaze hasn't actually launched, and they plan to launch their Genesis Mint will occur on March 2nd. For me to launch on Secret Network, I was doing research on NFTs in the cosmos, and I stumbled upon a Non's NFT at that time. So for me to stumble upon a Non's NFT, I was really tracking the success on how well they did. Secret Secret Network really stood out because of their whole privacy on introducing the private metadata. It looked like it was introducing this this new idea of NFTs, that it wasn't just a picture. You could do more with your NFTs. You can introduce whole private metadata features. It was interesting. I had a conversation with Tor. I really liked the way where things were going, and I was able to launch my collection sooner than later. So I think Stargaze was actually supposed to be in February, and they pushed it to March. At the time, if I was to launch on Secret, I was to launch when the collection was done, and we happened to finish the collection on January 29, and that's when our mint occurred. But like for example, if we've actually been talking to Shane on possibly releasing a very limited amount of Metarats on Stargaze. We haven't shared this information yet, but we're in the
Shared
talks
now.
of yeah, it's public now, so there's definitely some alpha getting dropped here. So we're looking into launching a very limited number of Metarats on Stargaze, and this would be really interesting because when the whole interoperability thing occurs, you're able to go between Stargaze and you're able to go between Secret. So um, that's that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to because at the end of the day, how would I say this? Like I don't truthfully believe that every chain needs its own decentralized application. I like to look at everything in terms of like the whole Cosmos ecosystem space. If you have every chain, for example, Secret, and then you have Luna, and then you have all these other projects in Cosmos having their own NFT marketplace, things kind of get messy. Like things could get messy a lot. But when you have the whole idea about like interoperability, you're able to go from one marketplace to another. And the way I look at it is I'm launching on the whole Cosmos ecosystem. Metarats is not even though it is a project on Secret Network, the way I see it is it's overall it's just a Cosmos NFT project.
Right. I see that as well, which is an NFT projects in the interchain. So that's great. So is the meta prefix for metadata or is it for metaverse?
So the meta prefix is for that's a really good question. Honestly, we could just say it's for both. Um, but essentially, it was supposed to be for the whole metaverse idea, because that's how when I look at NFTs, it's just this whole metaverse world. You could do so much with it. You can bring your NFTs into an entire metaverse. So, um, I guess it's more for metaverse.
Got it. So when we're transacting on Secret Network, let's say people made a sale of Metarats and they have transaction privacy preserved. Like, what is exactly private? Is it the transaction or what is happening in the mempool?
So you're talking about Secret Network in general?
Yeah, generally.
Okay, so when somebody, like for example, if I transfer you an NFT, um, nobody could really see who owns that NFT. Like, for example, if we just click on any one of these NFTs here, if you click on it and then you see that it goes owned by, you can't really see that address there. So in Secret Network, you can't when somebody purchases an NFT, you can't see who purchased that NFT. So it gives that whole privacy feature of nobody really knows who owns what. And Secret Network it has so many like for example when we talk about like private metadata on Secret, let me see if I can quickly find this. Um, I have these notes that I wrote on Secret Network. If I could find them quickly. It
How do you
basically
how do you
yep.
authenticate who owns what without knowing this information?
Um, so you can't really actually tell who owns what NFT. So if somebody was to tell you that they owned an NFT on Secret Network, I don't believe that you can actually authenticate it. They'd have to show you on Stash. So I believe we sent your NFT to you. So have you checked it out yet?
I have not yet. I did go through the process, but I did not authenticate my address.
So yeah, so when you authenticate your address on Stash, you're basically gonna see that it's gonna say that you're the owner of this NFT, and that's how you're able to tell that you're the owner of this NFT. But when you transfer it, you don't know exactly, or it doesn't say where you transferred it, and you can't actually see the owner. Only they're able to see that.
Yeah, so is the source of truth uh contingent upon Stash then? Is that how it
Uh,
works?
so you could so in terms of like when we're talking about like the whole technical side, I'm not really the most technical person behind this, but you can verify your ownership of Metarats through metarats.io. So if you go on metarats.io, you're able to see your Metarat collection under the My Collection tab. And you can also verify it on Stash. So those are the only two ways I believe that you're able to verify it.
Okay, got it. All right, so we can, open up questions from the stream. So if any of you who are listening right now have questions, go ahead and ask them, and then we'll pick it off the screen. Um, is there anything else that we haven't covered? And where can people find more information about Metarats?
So anybody's able to join the Telegram and you're able to join the Discord. We've essentially moved, we're trying to move everybody over from the Telegram on the Discord. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, we're pretty active on the Discord. There's a whole community that answers questions. Ideally, any new information that comes out, it will come on Twitter first, and people are able to see. If you want, you can scroll through all the tweets and you can look at all our updates, and you can also go on the Discord and you can take a look at all the pinned posts that we have if you'd like to see more information about updates.
Fetty Op tells us that you can use permits to verify ownership.
So yeah, that's the. I guess technically, yes, that's how you could do it. Again, I'm not the best to speak on the technical side. Metarats is there's two co-founders and we have one person who did the entire programming behind it. So that would be his area of expertise.
Huitzi Diaz asks, "What's the future utility?"
Okay, so as I mentioned, in terms of one idea for utility that we have that we're going to be introducing soon is this idea that we're going to essentially own percentage in new and upcoming NFT projects. And the percentage that we own in these new projects, we're essentially going to be redistributing that to the cheese vault, and then the cheese vault can use that money to, for example, um, through like a treasure chest or giveaways, we can buy back Metarats, we can burn them, sweep floors. There's so many ways that we could do that. In terms of adding, utility, we're in the process of looking at new ways we can introduce, new additional utility into it. So we're really at the start of everything with this.
Chang says, "Talk about Sombrero Dude."
Talk about sombrero dude. There's a lot of sombrero dudes. Which sombrero dude are we going to talk about, Chang? There's not. I mean, I guess there's a whole bunch of sombrero metarats that people seem to like. So that might be his question.
Well, I have a question about that. I thought that they were all the same category of Sombrero Dude, and they just have different attributes changed around. So I guess it's not obvious that they're supposed to be distinct and have individual stories.
No, I mean I'm not too familiar with that. The artist might have built that himself, but yeah, I guess that it's like what you mentioned. I guess they're distinct in a way or something.
Yeah, it just looks like there's a lot of different rats with sombreros, and they are part of a sombrero club, I guess. I have no idea. But anyway,
I truthfully don't even know how that was inspired. So
okay. Michael's crypto channel asks, so my question is when the rats marketing is began.
um okay. So I thought the question meant when will it begin? So I was really confused. In terms of Metarat marketing, I feel like a lot of people noticed how we were able to capture so many people on Twitter. We really started marketing everything with the whole one of one idea, and we started that in early December. The project started the Twitter was made on October 15, I believe. We played around with making some designs, and then we really started the marketing on very early December. Like Metarats, at first we were planning to launch a lot later, and then what ended up happening was I was supposed to go to Miami in December, but I ended up getting COVID, and I had to stay in my room for 14 days, and I was not able to leave my house. So what I ended up doing in those 14 days is I just worked on Metarats nonstop. So that's really when all the marketing happened. I would say in early to mid December.
Jambalaya Tex asks, will the cheese vault contain rat altering components?
So that's we haven't really thought about that idea. It could be possible. People are introducing new ideas. We're taking notes of all these ideas that we're getting. It's possible. As of now, I don't know if it's something that we've talked about already, but it's possible. We might look into that.
Michael asks, so for example, I'm investor in NFTs, but I missed this NFT launch on Secret, so I bought one of this. What should I do next?
So if you purchase a Metarat NFT, I'd like to say, thank you for purchasing a Metarat NFT. Congratulations on joining the community. What you need to do now is stay updated with what we're building here, whatever we're sharing on Twitter. If you have any suggestions for the project, you're able to share. Just being involved in this live stream, you're able to acquire the alpha that we shared on this podcast here. And there's really nothing much to it that you could possibly do instead of just providing other ideas and just wait for things to unfold. Honestly, like what I recommend for a lot of people who do own Metarats is keep promoting your own Metarat. When it comes to marketing, building this whole cult following, it's really hard to do it through one person. You need a whole group of people to do it, a large community.
Huitzi Diaz asks, are the low mint number rats sought after, or is it only the rare clothing combos?
Oh, okay. So in terms of the ranking, I've made it clear that I personally, I personally own several rats myself, and some of the nicest rats I own, I wouldn't even say that they're ranked very high. I have like a rank 2,300 or something along there. And I honestly think that rat is super cool. So if I was to ever introduce any if I was ever to introduce or we were ever to introduce ideas for utility, we would never make it focused on the rank. We understand that it's you have to involve the entire community, and for somebody to purchase a meta rat for $10,000, we know that it's not possible for everybody to do it, and we don't just want to favor the whales that are purchasing those meta rats. Rank doesn't really have any play with the value, I guess, but it's something that people essentially, determine themselves. If people think that a rank 1 to 10 is more valuable than say a rank 3,000, it's whatever people think it is.
All right. And I think that about covers everything that we have on this podcast. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Interchain FM. Thank you, Brian Luke, for supporting the production of these live streams. And once again, I'm proud to inform you that Interchain FM stake validator is up and running on Osmosis. So if you enjoyed the alpha on this show and past shows and future shows, feel free to delegate to us and you will get more alpha coming up. So we've got interviews every Thursday right here on Twitter and YouTube Live. Our next one is going to be about osmosis. Our very own Sunny is joining us to talk about superfluid staking launch. What's the DL on CosmWasm support and everything else you need to know about osmosis and what's coming up in the future. So I'll see you all next week and talk to you later.